All right, so first of all, congratulations on your admissions to SFU. And we are very happy that you have decided to pursue your academic journey with SFU. And we're very looking forward to welcoming you in person, hopefully sometime soon to the SFU communities. My name is Mei-Ling Gao, and I'm one of the International Student Advisor, Immigration Specialist at the International Student Services International Services for Students Office. So it's great to see so many of you joining us virtually today at International Student Q&A session for international undergrad students. So throughout the sessions, please make sure that you will mute your mic. So in today's session, we are going to have an hour and a half in total. And for the first 30 minutes, it's going to be presentation style. First, we're going to have our student staff talk about Global Connection Program and the University Prep. And then I will continue on talking about the tips on applying for study permit applications, enrollment requirements for international students, and also provide you some key updates which are related to COVID-19. And then we will jump right into the Q&A part because we want to save more time for the Q&A part to open the floor for questions. After the session is over, you will also expect to receive follow-up emails, which is going to have a list of resources that will be helpful to you and a very short survey. So the survey is very brief, and we hope that you would take a minute to complete the survey, as your feedback will be very important for us to form our future planning. So we would appreciate you taking your valuable time to complete the survey. All right, so let's start. First, I would like to invite our student staff, Issy, to tell us a little bit more about the Global Connection programs. Issy, thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, so please help yourself and take the stage.
Thank you, Mei-Ling. So hi, everyone. My name is Ise, and I'm a third-year student at SFU. I study biomedical physiology and biomedical engineering, and I'm here to talk about the Global Connections program. So the program is a student-led peer mentorship program, which allows new students and current students to connect. You can change the slide, Mei-Ling. And it's an opportunity to learn about the culture of SFU, and while making new friends and receiving transitional support from our volunteers. You can also request to be matched with one of our community leaders, and they will support you throughout the term and will answer any of your questions about any aspects of life at SFU. And the GCP program is specifically designed for new students coming from international pathway, and that does include international students coming from Canadian post-secondary institutions. So any transfer students can also join the program. And you will be meeting over SFU students through various events and activities. There will be opportunities to learn about other cultures. There'll be opportunities to share your own cultures with others while making meaningful connections throughout the term. And also, due to the current situation, the entire program has been moved online. So no matter where you are geographically, you can still engage with us and you can still be part of a Global Connections program. So we'd hope to see you there no matter where you are. And even though we're online, we'll still be offering those informative sessions about the topics that will help you beyond your academic study at SFU, and we'll still have our social events as well. And when you join as a member, you always receive priority invitation to all those events before it gets opened up to the rest of the SFU population, to make sure that you make the most out of your experience as a first year, as a new student. And you can choose to attend as many or as little events as you want, as long as you fulfill the program requirements. You will be recognized, it will be recognized in your co-curricular record. And this co-curricular record is an official SFU document that tracks your involvement at the university. So yeah, just by coming here and us helping you out with your transition, you can already be involved within your own community, which is quite great. I mean, I think it's great at least. And the applications are currently open for fall 2020. And if you look at the next slide, you will see where you can apply. So you can just go on the SFU ISAP website, and there'll be more information about the program there, and you can apply from there. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can always email gcmp@sfu.ca, and I'll get back to you with the information that I have, and as soon as possible, and I'll help you out to the best of my abilities. But besides the program, I also wanted to remind you to complete University Prep Step 2. It's prepared by your own faculty, and it gives you accurate and timely information about enrollment and planning your courses. And it takes approximately 30 minutes, and it really sets you up for success in your academic life at SFU. So highly recommend finishing that. And as soon as you accept the course, which you can find in your SFU email, and finish the Step 2, you're eligible to win some prizes, which is great. What a better way to spend this quarantine life than to finish a beautiful, beautiful Canvas course prepared by beautiful people, and also get recognition on your co-curricular record once again. Yeah, I hope you finish that and complete it all. But that's it for me. Do not hesitate to email me at gcmp@sfu.ca if you have any questions. And yeah, thank you. I'll give you the mic back, Mailing.
Thank you, Izzy. That is very helpful. And as an international student at SFU, you may encounter many new experiences and challenges. So we strongly encourage you to take part of global connection programs, which will offer you great opportunities to connect with other students and form a sense of community, which is especially important in coping with some of the very unique challenges that you may face in this upcoming fall term. As we know that this fall semester is going to be very different from the normal fall intake. The University Prep is also a great online resources which aims to help you to ease your transition to SFU and help you to succeed with your academic journey at SFU. So starting at an academic adventure in a new university can be stressful and difficult to navigate. The International Services for Students Office offers a range of services to help you have a smooth arrival and welcome to the university life, including pre-arrival support, settlement services, referrals, non-academic assistance throughout the program of studies at SFU. As international students at SFU, it is your responsibility to ensure that all of your immigration and legal documents are maintained up to date in order to study and work in Canada. But we also understand that navigating the government regulations and important paperwork can be very challenging. So within the ISS office, we have 3 international student advisors, immigration specialists, including myself. We are also regular immigration Canadian consultants. We're happy to answer any questions you have related to Canadian immigration, documents such as how to apply, how to extend your study permit, work permits, work eligibility, or temporary resident visa, ETA. Our advisor can also advise enrollment requirements and conditions you must comply as international students holding a valid study permit, as well as work eligibility to work on campus and off campus or on co-op. The information about medical insurance and Canadian healthcare system can also be quite complicated. So if you're unsure about what difference are between the primary and secondary medical insurance, we are here to answer those questions for you. Also, to help you have a smooth transition to university and life in Canada, we are also happy to refer you to various community engagement opportunities, as well as intercultural transition referral services. We also have another international student advisors who are specialized in bringing fabulous programming for our students, including the global connection programs. So I'm sure that you will have a lot of support around you. And for academic related matters, that is not something our office does not advise. So if you have any academic related inquiries, please contact your department advisor or academic advising for further assistance. Our office also provides information about study abroad, exchange, and field school opportunities. All consultations with international advisors or study abroad officers are free and confidential. Due to COVID-19, our in-person services are temporarily suspended. But we continue to help our students remotely through various options such as live chat, virtual appointments, email, and phone. Please visit our contact us page for the most updated advising schedules and detailed information on how to connect with us. So another great platform I would strongly encourage you to access or check it out is our own website, where you can find information about welcome guides to help you to prepare for your arrival and ease your transition to university, and 40 instruction guides covering a very wide range of topics that are available at your fingertips. And also informative step-by-step instruction guide on how to apply it or extend your immigration documents or medical insurance. Now, to pursue your studies in Canada, you must have a valid study permit. And so if you're currently outside of Canada, you must also apply for a study permit outside of Canada before coming to Canada. Again, because of COVID-19, some of the visa offices and the visa application centers are temporarily closed. However, immigration, refugee, citizen Canada, they continue to accept and process study permit applications. Under normal circumstances, you may be able to apply for the study permit either on paper through the visa application center or online. But as I mentioned, some of the visa application centers are already closed, and there are also service disruption costs due to COVID-19. So all study permit applications now have to be submitted online. Paper application to the visa application center are no longer accepted at this point. Now, immigration, refugee, citizen in Canada have also made a point that if you'll be starting a program remotely by taking courses outside of Canada, you may also start your programs without a valid study permit. However, you must have a valid study permit in order for you to pursue or complete any in-Canada components of your studies at a later stage. So depending on your nationalities, you may also need to have a valid temporary resident visa or electronic travel authorization, known as ETA, to facilitate your entries into Canada under normal circumstances. We are going to cover the travel restrictions and exemptions briefly later on, but under normal circumstances, in order for someone to come to study in Canada, they must have a valid study permit, as well as a temporary resident visa or an ETA, unless they are exempt. So when applying for study permit outside of Canada, the temporary resident visa or the ETA will be issued automatically to you, so you don't have to submit a separate application for that. The study permit is a status document which will allow you to remain in Canada as a study permit holder, and you must make sure that your study permit is valid throughout your entire duration of your stay in Canada. So if you will be joining SFU as a student who just recently graduated from a Canadian high school, and you're currently holding a study permit from your high school, as long as the study permit is valid, you do not need to submit an application to change the condition of the study permit before you can take courses in the fall term. However, if your study permit is going to expire soon, then you should actually apply to extend your study permit, and it's recommended you should apply at least 3 or 4 months in advance before it expires. On the other hand, even if your study permit is still valid for a long time, as I mentioned, you do not need to really apply for change of condition in order for you to be able to study in Canada. However, if you are interested, or if you think you will be looking to work on campus and off campus, then you will still need to submit an application to change the condition of your study permit so that you will be allowed to work on campus or off campus. You must have the proper work authorization to be imposed on your study permit in order for you to be able to work. And we are going to touch more on this topic later on when we get into the enrollment requirement information. As a study permit holder, you are expected to comply with the study permit conditions by actively pursuing your studies in Canada, and also make reasonable progression towards completion of your studies. So from RCC's perspective, you must at least enroll part-time in each academic session through your program study in Canada. Now, as an undergrad student at SFU, spring term and fall term are considered as regular academic sessions for immigration purpose. So to comply with the conditions of the study permit, at least by minimum, you have to enroll part-time in the spring and also in the fall terms in order for you to be able to comply with the conditions of the study permit. On the other hand, if throughout your program studies, if due to unforeseen circumstances that you have to take a leave from your studies, you may take a leave of studies, leave from your studies up to 150 days without jeopardizing the condition of your study permit. So if you are planning to take a term off later on in the spring or in the fall term, I would recommend you to connect with one of the international student advisor, immigration specialist, to talk about the potential implications you should be aware of. Now, if fall term is going to be your first semester at SFU and you're thinking about taking a term off due to COVID-related reason, it probably will make sense for you to actually defer the admissions to avoid any complications with your immigration status. We can dive into more in the FAQ if you are thinking about that. We can definitely discuss more later on. Also, I wanted to add that is summer term at SFU for undergrad students is optional. So it's really up to you if you wanted to take any courses in the summer, either as a full-time student or part-time students, or not take any courses in the summer. That will be totally fine. So moving on to enrollment requirements in order for you to work on off-campus. In order for you to work on campus, you must have a valid study permit, and you also have to be enrolled as a full-time student in a given term. So based on SFU's definition of full-time, you have to be enrolled in a minimum of 9 units or equivalent, which may include enrolled in official SFU co-op or a full-time exchange program. Those all will be considered as enrolled full-time, equivalent to enrolled full-time. You also need to make sure that you will have the proper work conditions imposed on your study permit as well, stating that you may accept employment on or off campus. When you apply for your study permit outside of Canada, upon approval of your study permit, you will receive what we call letter of introduction, confirming that a study permit application has been approved, but that is not the actual study permit. When you arrive at a port of entry in Canada, you're going to pick up the actual study permit. So when you do that, make sure that you will check your study permit to see if the proper work authorization has been posted on your study permit or not. If it hasn't been imposed on the study permit, it probably will be easier for you to fix that at a port of entry, right on site. Then, later on, you may have to submit a separate application to change the conditions. So it's important to have the proper conditions on your study permit in order for you to meet the requirements for you to work on campus. For working off campus, the requirements is very similar. One of the difference that I want to highlight is that in order for someone to be eligible to work off campus, they have to pursue a degree, diploma, certificate at a designated learning institution, and the length of program has to be minimum 6 months. So for many of our students who are doing undergrad degrees at SFU, that your program will be eligible for working off campus, provided you meet all the other requirements, which are you're enrolled as a full-time student, you have a valid study permit, and also you have the proper work authorization on the permit. You will be allowed to work up to 20 hours a week during the academic session, which is the spring and fall, and during regular academic schedule breaks, you may also work on a full-time basis. Moving along, talking about co-op. So if some of you are interested in participating in a co-op or practical internship to gain some practical experience while you are pursuing your degrees, that is, that's actually a great idea. So the first step you have to do is you have to apply to be accepted into the co-op program first. Once you're accepted into the co-op, then your co-op advisor will provide you with a letter to confirm your acceptance to the co-op, then you need to apply for a separate co-op work permit. So you need to have a valid co-op work permit in order for you to be able to work on a co-op term. And you also have to be enrolled in an official co-op placement course or approved internship or practicum course at SFU during that term. When you're enrolled in that official co-op placement course approved by SFU, you will also be considered enrolled full-time for that term. Many of you may also be interested in applying for the post-graduation work permit upon completion of your studies. So in order for you to be eligible to apply for the post-grad work permit, one of the requirements you must meet is you have to maintain continuous full-time enrollment during each academic sessions, which are the spring and also the fall terms. You must also meet other post-graduation work permit eligibility criteria, which we're not going to dive into too much details here. But the only exception to the full-time requirements for the post-grad work permit are if you are part-time students in your final term, or if you have to take a leave of absence for up to 150 days due to unforeseen circumstances. Any other non-continuous full-time requirement may negatively impact your eligibility for the post-grad work permit, and the final decision will fall on the discretion of the immigration officers at that point. So those are the enrollment requirements you need to be aware as a study permit, which will impact your work eligibility for on and off campus, and also how to comply with the condition of your study permit. So in the past few months, we have seen many updates and changes have been implemented, or temporary measures have been in place due to COVID-19. So on July 16th, IRCC has actually announced a temporary measures that will exempt certain in-Canada applications, including study permit applications, from the biometrics requirements if the application will be submitted within Canada. However, this biometric exemption, temporary biometric exemption, does not apply for applications that are submitted outside of Canada. So if you apply for a study permit outside of Canada and you are required to do biometrics as part of the application, the visa application center is closed, or the biometric collection sites are closed due to COVID-19 related reasons, unfortunately, this biometrics exemption will not apply for outside of Canada applications. The next thing is, we have already touched briefly on this, is you may start a program online outside of Canada before your study permit gets approved. However, you must have a valid study permit to resume any in-Canada studies. Now, if any of you are currently in Canada as a visitor and you are waiting for your study permit application to be processed outside of Canada, please know that you cannot start your programs in the fall term, even if all the courses will be delivered online, because you are physically in Canada as a visitor. On a very different scenario, if you decide to go back to leave Canada and you're outside of Canada by taking those courses remotely without a study permit, you may begin your program in the fall. So I want to make that very clear. In terms of application process, there are also quite a few changes as well. So first of all, if you do have to give biometrics, you will first have to apply and submit your application first. Once you have submitted your applications, you will receive the biometrics instruction letters. A lot of the visa applicant centers, all the biometric collection sites are currently closed because of COVID-19. So previously, an applicant only has 30 days to comply with the biometric collections deadlines, and then IRCC changed to 90 days, and now they even extend it further. Basically, you can wait until when the biometrics collection sites are reopened, and then you are supposed to complete biometrics enrollments as soon as possible. The other very welcome messages that has been announced on Tuesday is prioritizing processing will be possible for a complete study permit application. RCC has announced that priority processing will be available for those applications, study permit application that has been submitted and has been completed, so that the processing of those applications can be finalized as soon as possible. The other very big announcement is the temporary two-stage approval process for applications submitted before September 15th. As part of the Tuesday's updates, So if you will be submitting a study permit application before September 15th, then you may be eligible, and you'll be starting a program in the fall, you will be eligible for this temporary two-stage approval, which will involve in a first approval in principle process. And once you are able to complete all the outstanding necessary steps, such as medical examinations, getting place certificate, getting biometrics requirements, for reasons that you're not able to do that, that will be at the second stage. So once you have received the approval in principle, and once you have completed all the necessary outstanding steps, then you based on the admissibility reviews and security background check, you will then receive the full approval process. Now, we are still waiting for more information and clarification from IRCC on how exactly this temporary two-stage approval process will work and what exactly it will entail. So we're waiting for more clarification, but it is definitely good news to know that there will be a two-stage processing in place for study permit applications submitted before September 15th. For post-graduation work permit eligibility, RCC has also have confirmed earlier that for students who have a valid study permit or who have been approved for a valid study permit before March, before they started programs, their eligibility and the length of post-graduation work permit will not be impacted by doing a study program online. And another recent update is as a result of those temporary two-stage approval process, if you have an approving principle decision on your study permit application, assuming your study permit application will be submitted before September 15th, then the time that you spend outside of Canada from when you have received that approval in principle will be counted towards the eligibility and also the length for the post-graduation work permit, provided that you will receive the full approval of your study permit. I also want to make it clear that even with, let's say, the first approval in principle, there's no guarantee that you are going to receive the full approval of your study permit applications. So it will be of best of interest to apply for a study permit as soon as possible if you do intend to start programs in the fall term. Traveling to Canada, as many of you may have already been aware, to manage the outbreak of COVID-19, the government of Canada has implemented travel restrictions to stop most temporary foreigners to enter Canada unless they are exempted. The current travel restrictions for entries from Canada from US are in force until July 21st. And if you'll be traveling to Canada from outside the United States, the current travel restrictions will be is currently effective until July 31st. The deadlines on those travel restriction days could also be further extended if needed. Now, regardless of where you'll be traveling, either outside the United States or directly from the United States, you still have to demonstrate that you're coming to Canada for essential or non-discretional purpose. Some of the anticipated factors that may take into account to assess whether or not your purpose of travel is considered essential or non-discretion may involve how are the courses delivered for the fall term. Are they going to be delivered in person or going to be delivered online? And if the courses will be delivered online, then what are the reasons why you have to be physically in Canada by taking those online courses? And the other consideration could be, is Canada your primary residence? How long have you been living in Canada? What kind of ties you have in Canada? Again, we are still waiting for more information to be rolled out by RCC, more information about what factors constitute essential travel. And also you need to know that it is, the onus is on the traveler, the international travelers to convince the border service officer that their purpose of travel is considered essential. We are going to have another workshop on August 7th to dive in more information on this travel consideration. So if you're interested in that topic, I would strongly encourage you to sign up for that workshop. And hopefully we're going to have more information to share with you at that point. And in terms of self-isolation requirements, regardless if you have COVID-19 related symptoms or not, you will not be, you will still have to mandatory self-isolate yourself for a minimum 14 days upon arrival in Canada. Actually, in fact, if you do have COVID-19 related symptoms, you will not be allowed to board, to board the plane to travel to Canada. We also have a self-isolation guide that we have put up on our website, which will also give you some more information on the tips and how you can come with a quarantine plan and some of the resources that you may find helpful with self-isolation. All right, so again, I know that many of you may have a lot of questions about traveling to Canada, self-isolations, as this is a very important topic. As mentioned, that we are still waiting for more information to come from IRCC, and hopefully that, you know, by the time that we do our travel consideration workshop, we will be happy, we will have more information to share with you at that point. So helpful tips. Before we dive into the live Q&A, this is the last slide, I believe. So just a quick reminder that if you wanted to start a program in the fall, you should apply for your study permit as soon as possible. Again, because of COVID-19, there are service disruptions. You are not able to maybe complete certain steps, such as you know, medical examinations, biometrics, as well as police certificates, passport renewal. So there will be, you know, the processing time will be delayed. And again, there's no guarantee that the application will be approved for sure. No one can give you that guarantee. No one can predict the outcome of the application. So to avoid any necessary complications or to minimize the last minute disappointment you're going to have with your study plan, it is strongly encouraged that you should apply for a study permit as soon as possible. And also make sure that if you want to benefit from that temporary two-stage approval process, make sure that you will submit your application by September 15th. We also have a various resources available to help you with the applications, and all those information will be included in our follow-up emails. You're going to find instruction guide how to apply for the study permit applications outside of Canada. COVID-19 FAQ, we have a designated COVID-19 FAQ for international students. You're going to find information about immigration, medical, traveling to Canada. Welcome guides for new students to help you to ease your transitions, and also the self-isolation guide. Another thing I just want to mention is, given how rapidly things have been changing for COVID-19 and policies, special measures to be implemented, it's very important to monitor the Government of Canada's website very closely, any updates on the travel restriction, and we will also update our website once new information becomes available. And last but not least is, you know, attend our future Q&A sessions. We have another Q&A session, so it's going to talk about medical insurance, which is also, again, very important topic, as well as the travel consideration. We will also be doing another Q&A sessions for families of new international undergrad students as well. So if your families have any questions about your studies and how, you know, how your immigration, the paperwork, how that works, please, you know, recommend them to sign up for that session. So stay tuned for more information. So that will be the end to our presentation part. I'm going to close or pause the recording now, and you're going to probably hear a notification saying that the recording will be ended, and then we can dive into the Q&A part. So